You're watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. As the year comes to a close, marketing teams everywhere are reviewing their strategies and asking which internet marketing channels should we keep and which ones should we actually let go. Today we're exploring a few things you should consider this time of year to ensure your marketing dollars are working for you. Joining us once again is Durran, who is the founder and owner of Cage Automotive, a specialist in the area of coaching and consulting and marketing. So thank you so much, Durran, for joining us on the show.
Jim and CBT News, thank you so much for having me on. It's always an honor, so thank you.
Sure. So as I said in the opening, a lot of marketing teams and marketing managers and CMOs alike are using this time to say, okay, what's worked and what doesn't work? And now we're in a scenario where the marketing really has to pay a nice dividend. It can't just be kind of throw everything out there and see what works, right? It's got to bring a return, and those companies want to align themselves with the greatest return on that marketing dollar. So are there any warning signs that are specific channel that are worth investing in versus others?
Now, you said it best. It's aligning, right? It's dealers aligning with the marketing channels, the vendors, all that. And so what I'm encouraging, because you're right, Jim, this time of the year, we're getting a lot of conversations around this. Who should we let go? Who should we keep? Who should we invest more with? But what I always go back to is the data. I'm a nerd there. I love numbers. And what we have to do is align ourselves with the marketing teams that we work with or the vendors on what are those key measurables that determine whether or not this program is working together.
Yeah.
And so for an example, some of these measurables that I pay very close attention to with clients and when I'm speaking in the industry is looking at the engagement per marketing channel, not just the sales. Because a lot of dealers, what we do is we focus straight to that bottom line. How much profit did they generate?
Right.
That is important. That's the end result. But we also want to slow down and look, what was our engagement like with these customers that came from this marketing channel? And then what steps happen in between when we receive that customer from engagement to appoint setting to the customer visiting the showroom and then the sale, by understanding these key measurables and then sharing that with the marketing team. Now we're all on the same page, so we're not trying to focus on firing based on the end result. We're looking at multiple results throughout that channel within the CRM, or if we're setting that up through Google.
Yeah, for sure, because you're exactly right. There's a number of opportunities that come into a dealership that sometimes the marketing people don't even know about, and they only focus on, well, how many cars did we sell this month based on what we've spent? And it's a great point, but how many opportunities did we have? And then from those opportunities, how many were followed up on? I mean, all of these things play a role in setting up your marketing, right?
Absolutely. And so once that's been established and we're all on the same page there, then the next part, and you kind of touched on a little bit, is the communication with the marketing department to the variable side, making sure that those teams understand where that marketing is coming from, whether it's an email campaign, whether it's from a social media campaign, or if it's first party search engine marketing, something like that. The team needs to understand the verbiage of what that message is being told so that they can carry that message on to that shopper. So the shopper's not, they got attracted to an ad about a buyback campaign. But then when the end user, the sales rep or whoever that is receives it, is talking about deferred payments for 90 days.
Right.
So now we have a little bit of a clash. So having that communication established with the marketing team and the variable team beforehand is another thing that's going to add some benefit to whichever marketing channel it's coming from.
Boy, I'm so glad you brought this topic up, because I think it still happens today in a very big way. It happened when I was running dealerships, that the marketing people, or maybe the ad agency, maybe it's an outside company that goes, hey, we'll handle all of it for you. And they never communicated it down to the sales department, whether that be the sales manager, the desk manager, and the team, or the team and the BDC center. And therefore there was a huge disconnect, and nothing frustrates the customer more, especially in the technologies that we have available to us in 2024, that caller calling in says, I'm calling about, to your point, about the buyback, or about this particular 0% interest rate, or a particular car or whatever. and the person is dumbfounded. What are you calling about? What does it look like? Read it to me. What does it say? And it's like, really, are we really doing this right now? And that person on the other end of the phone at the dealership isn't well versed, or at least versed at all, on the marketing materials that are going out. It happens all the time.
Absolutely. And so once we get past that next step and we're actually identifying, okay, now we've established our benchmarks. Now we've had communication, we've got our plan. Now it's execution time and looking at those certain parties or those certain channels. And what I'm seeing in terms of looking at thousands and thousands of lead source return on investment, ROI reports, is that first party customer is still showing the best return of time and investment. Meaning I'm seeing a lot of dealerships have success really owning their data within the CRMs and doing specific targeted equity mining or segmented marketing campaigns to a specific audience. Because we have so many tools now, Jim, that you can use to really identify what would be a good shopper to market to. And by doing that, yes, it might take a little bit more fine tuning, but a lot of times the expense is minimal. So I'm advising dealers to start there and then work on those other marketing channels that they can kind of layer on top of, in terms until we get to that third party.
Sure. What role does customer feedback play in shaping a dealership's online marketing strategy?
Massive, like just studying. There's two different ways that we could look at that. There's the intentional way of what the customer's saying by really just going out there to your database and surveying those customers, or putting some kind of, if you want to put humans behind it, where they're actually calling and saying, hey, would you be willing to participate in this? To me, that would be great if more stores invested in that, because that's what major corporations do.
Right.
But the other way to hear what customers are saying without actually seeing it is just, again, looking at your data. What channels are customers converting and having the highest engagement? And when we look at those, typically it's those channels, especially when we get to the digital side, it's those channels that are all talking about how the customer can save time. So if we look at a dealer's website and they have that virtual retailing tool or digital retailing, and the message is clear that the customer can save some time or they can get more information, and the team actually executes on that, like they're actually delivering that information and making it easy. I'm seeing that as one of the highest marketing channels, because it's consistent and it delivers a message to the customer that makes it easy. And then you also have the employees that like it because it makes it easier for them as well. So that's one way to listen to the customers, is just, if you see the data is generating a high return, what message did that customer see that's generating the high return? And time savings, transparency, messages around that, and then also tackling affordability right now, deferred payments as we're approaching this end of the year. And I think as we move into 2025, all these different messages that match the market concerns of where customers are, and changing that message to show here's what we're doing to address that has done very well from a data standpoint.
Sure. What do you see as the biggest marketing opportunity for dealers in 2025?
Yeah, I would say outside of the equity mining, CRM, data management is really, it's going to sound people like, man, I've been listening to this for years, but really pushing customers to that website, to your virtual showroom. And so that can come from a lot of different ways. You can do that through social media as one channel. You can through paid searches as another channel, or like I said, through your database, marketing to those customers. But that has the biggest return at the least cost, is really driving customers to that virtual showroom. And I guess we have to take a step back there, Jim, and make sure that our virtual showroom is set up first. So it goes back to the very beginning of what we've been talking about, is make sure that our website is good, our team understands our website, and our customers understand our website. The data supporting that, but that is the number one channel that's working, is getting those customers from data or through other channels to your dealership's website.
Sure, and we could probably do a whole nother show on just this topic, but you got to make sure your website is ready to do business. So many people, I think, of the dealers out there, and I know I'm painting with a broad brush here, but there's a lot of dealers out there that don't focus as much on what's happening on the website for that consumer experience. And you got all these things popping up in your face, and you don't know what you're supposed to be, which way you're supposed to be going, when you get to a dealer's website, there's all kinds of offers for pre-approvals and get your trade appraised and look at our inventory and look at our latest specials that we have. Oh, and by the way, here's some service specials. And I think it really, in 2025, for dealers that are out there, if you haven't focused on your digital footprint and your website, do that. I mean, that's where people are going to go before they go to your showroom. And you wouldn't have a messy showroom. You wouldn't have a showroom that was full of all kinds of crazy cars or what have you, and litter or whatever the case might be. Focus on your website, because I think you'll be amazed. I think there's a lot of dealers, actually dealer principals, that haven't been to their website in months, so they don't even know what that customer experience is like. And I don't just mean go to the homepage. If you're a dealer principal listening to this, or a general manager, act as if you're going to buy a car or you're going to shop for a car on your own website and see firsthand what the experience is like. And if you say to me, well, Jim, we sold 200 cars last month and we crushed it on gross profit and we crushed it on volume, and therefore there must not be a problem with our website. What if you had the ability to sell 250 cars and you did even more gross profit because of a few fixes on your website? So don't be too comfortable out there that the business you're getting is all the business that could be gotten at your store. And would you agree with that, Durran, that people are not, sometimes they're just not as focused on what's happening on their own websites that their customers are going to?
Yeah, Jim, I mean, you're right. That's a whole nother show. But what I will say quickly to that is you're right. One of the first things that we do when we're coaching, mentoring, or talking to anyone is we ask them at every level, not just upper management, but every level, study your website. And I can honestly say, with clients that we've worked with, when I say, hey, have you visited your website? Do you know how to go through it? No, I would say 70% of the time, employees will say they have not.
Right.
And what I would encourage is that as dealers, we make this part of our onboarding program. So make sure the employee onboarding experience is really studying your website, going through every page. But then I add another layer to that and recommend that you look at other dealers. Look at the top dealers in the country. Look at the top, look at the manufacturers, look at all of them. So then that way you have a good experience.
Yeah.
And then take it a step further is inspect those third parties, those partners that some of you are working with. Many teams, again, I would say 70 to 80% of times I can ask either like a BDC department, and I'll say, when's the last time you've been on this third party? And some of them will be like, I've never actually heard of it, which is mind blowing.
Yeah.
And I said, you want to make sure that you understand the language of what that customer's seeing. But to your point, Jim, what I would say, because we're talking about a lot of short-term marketing strategies that are important, because we know most dealers, we're looking for something that's going to help us right now. But I do want to add a layer to what Jim's saying, is that branding is just as important, if not more important, in my opinion. And so that virtual showroom, that website, we talk so much about brand, but your website is your brand. That's an important part. Sometimes we focus so much on, let's generate this brand, let's use this avatar, let's use this dealer face as our brand, but your website is just as much as your brand, as much as any other avatar.
No question. That's no question about it. Durran Cage, founder and owner of Cage Automotive, for dealers that are looking to make some big changes in 2025. Maybe give Durran a call and say, hey, come on over and do an audit on my website and take a look at my marketing plan and see if I'm in line with where I should be. If you're not, maybe Durran is the answer. If you are in line, I'm sure he's going to tell you that as well. So, he'll shoot you straight. So, Durran, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Jim, thank you so much. Happy holidays to you, the CBT News family, and everyone you're associated with. Thank you so much.
You as well. Thanks.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.